Michael Bennett, NFL Man of the Year. Michael Bennett, he's a very, very good player. Now, he's past his prime, but he's still a very good player. Better than Richard Sherman is at this point, coming off 2 ACLs. But I think the funny thing about this is, one thing you can't deny, Seattle kind of unraveled this year. And I'll say it again, this is very much Pete Carroll at USC. Pete Carroll at USC and Pete Carroll at Seattle, it's the same story. He brings great energy into a new franchise and revives a stale USC, a stale Seattle. He brings an energy. That is undeniable. It's a good thing. B, the players, because he's very pro-player, they buy in. It gains traction. It's high energy. They believe in themselves. And then eventually, after about 7 years, it unravels because it's too loose, too pro-player, too loud, and too much ego. Now, the same thing happened to him in New England, where he went 10-6, 9-7, 8-8, and by the end, they couldn't win in division. He brought an energy to New England. It was pro-player. It wasn't as rigid as the previous coach, Bill Parcells. But at the end, Parcells' Patriots were tight. Carroll's Patriots at the end were loose and unbuttoned. And I think it lost like 6 of 7 even in division. So it's the same formula Pete used at USC in New England. Huge energy, very pro-player. Players obviously buy in. You play to their vanity. And then ultimately it's not sustainable. Saban and Belichick's way is sustainable. The system over the player, get your ego, leave it at the door, none of this raw political stuff. The last 3 head coaching jobs Pete has had for a long period have all ended the exact same way. If you're in a relationship and the last 3 end the same way, look in the mirror. Look at player-friendly coaches. Wade Phillips, Pete Carroll, Rex Ryan, Mike Tomlin. Their early years are better than their late years with all of them. Tomlin, first 5 years, last 5 years. Locker rooms need the coach to be a voice, primarily the singular voice. Saban doesn't let his assistants talk. Belichick doesn't let his assistant coaches and coordinators talk. Jason Sehorn, former Giant Ram, was on Speak for Yourself yesterday, and we got into this. And I like Pete Carroll, but God, the Seahawks look just like USC did at the end. And I like Pete, but I had an NFL head coach say to me recently, Pete's always running from the posse. Is that Pete has a style. It's the same thing in New England, outside of Parcells, more player-friendly. It was the same thing at USC with Paul Hackett. Energy, player-friendly. Same thing in Seattle. Big energy, player-friendly. Talk politics, make noise, stand out. But in the end, at USC, when did it end? When Chip Kelly and Harbaugh moved into the Pac-12, the easy days were over. Who just moved into the NFC West? Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan. Just like the Pac-12. Chip Kelly, Harbaugh, offensive guys moved in. Pete's defense wasn't as great. Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan move in. Defense is not going to be as great. Is it I like Pete? But when something happens for a third straight time, you lose a relationship the same way, third straight time, it's time to go in the bathroom and look in the mirror. This rah-rah, pom-pom player empowerment crap is not sustainable. It's not sustainable with Rex Ryan. Mike Tomlin's now in his last 4 or 5 years been underachieving with the personnel. Can you imagine if Belichick had Big Ben, Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, 3 Pro Bowlers on the offensive line, and Juju Smith-Schuster? Would they score 40 a game in the NFL?
Good God.
That is one of the great honestly, there's not an offense in the NFL that right now skill level is even close to Pittsburgh. And they're underachieving, beaten twice by Jacksonville. Once absolutely shellacked at home. Struggle against New England.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.